Hi there, how's everybody going? Enjoying their golf still, I hope? Now today I have an interview with Gordon McKie, who is the course manager at the Old Course in St Andrews. So if you want to know how the most famous golf course in the world has coped during lockdown and its reopening, please watch this video. Hi there, I'm with Gordon McKie, the course manager at the Old Course in St Andrews, the most famous links golf course in the world. Now, they are some very impressive flags you have behind you, Gordon. How long have you been at
Yeah,
St Andrews?
I've been at St Andrews overall for about 23 years, various positions. I what do you call it? Came to St Andrews, I think, in '96 and started an Eden course. Came as a deputy there, and then after about 4 years, I get the chance to take over Eden. So I ran Eden for a few years, and then I moved across and was in charge of the new course. And then probably the last sort of 12, 13 years, I've been over on the old. So actually 2007, I moved to the old. So yeah, and one of the flags in the background there was, from my first sort of championship was the 2007 Rico Women's Open.
Yeah, you must be who I need to ask about that awful, smelly pin position on the 11th, just behind the bunker. I hated that pin when I played the British Open there.
Aye, there was some sort of tricky sort of pins, and I think that would probably been the one sort of near hill bunker, Bobby Jones's bunker. So, but really, I mean, the pin positions and the weathers are really our defence to the golf course, because it's the double greens and open spaces. It's not a hard golf course to play as long as you can sort of manage your way around the bunkers, etc. So, sometimes the pins is where we can trick the place up.
Yeah, you did. Luckily, I had a local caddy who was very good at the lines off the tee. Because for people that haven't played at St Andrews, I mean, a local caddy just says, "You see that bush on the left? Just aim at that." And it's like, okay, then. So that could be something that's going to be a bit tricky at the moment without having caddies on the old course. But we'll get into that in a moment. So golf is back in Scotland. It's been about a week. How has it been? How's the St Andrew area been? I bet it's been quiet early on, and is it starting to get a few more people into the town?
Yeah, I mean, initially when we locked down, yeah, obviously the place went really sort of dead and absolutely nobody about. It was like a ghost town. But certainly in the last sort of week, sort of 10 days, we've started to see a few more bodies around. Certainly, obviously golfers. There's a lot more golfers about. So that's been good to see. We've been oversubscribed, as you would imagine, in terms of people wanting to play now. So yeah, I mean, not only the old course, but all the courses that have been opened. And at the moment we've got the old course, the new course, and Eden course. We've got 3 of our 7 golf courses are opened at the moment, so they're all fully subscribed. Our 4th one's going to open up this weekend, but it's been a busy place, and everybody's just been itching, not only in St Andrews, in the UK, Scotland, just to get back out there and to be playing golf, and it's good from our point of view to see people back out there.
Yeah, I mean, I know how frustrated it was watching people in America and Sweden play golf, so I can't imagine what it must be like for you guys watching us in England just play a couple of weeks ahead of you. It must have been really frustrating. So you say you've been oversubscribed for tee times. What's it looking like trying to get a tee time on the old course? What was it like that first day?
The first day, I think we had 150 cards approximately where we were oversubscribed for a game. It has started sort of to slow down a wee bit. I think everybody's had their fix now of getting out there. So yeah, but this is us. That's us a week today that we've had golf back. So yeah, we're still busy. But as more and more golf courses open up, that makes it a wee bit easier. Yeah, I think there's a lot. St Andrews is a golfing town, and a lot of people come here to basically, to play golf, and it's been a lot really busy. Probably seen a lot of people out there that you don't normally see, and that's probably one of the attractions. In the fact, because the old course is probably mainly a sort of a tourist golf course, a bucket list golf course for people coming from whether it be America, Europe, etc. So a lot of the local people maybe don't get as much of an opportunity to play. So I think they've been taking that chance and getting out there and enjoying the linksy conditions that we have at the moment.
Yeah, you'll be hearing a lot more Scottish accents rather than all the American ones, I suppose. So, in terms of your COVID-19 rules for golf, are you in two balls, I assume?
Yeah, we're two balls. Yeah, we're two balls at the moment.
And the same with all the pins are in, no rakes. You book online, I suppose it's that. And the big thing about St Andrews for me is you take a caddy, right? Like the caddy's part of the experience. So I suppose at the moment are people pushing their own bags, which I bet looks a bit weird for you guys to see.
Yeah, I mean it is. I mean, there's no caddies about at all, because it's all just the sort of the local golf club members that are playing just now. So a lot of trolleys out there, people carrying bags, etc. But you're absolutely right, no caddies, and you know that's quite an unusual sight, and even the unusual sight of actually two balls, because you know usually we are absolutely every tee time taken, and it's all four balls. It's very rare that you will see a two ball out on the old course. So it's quite interesting just to see, and certainly pace of play at the moment with the two balls. Everybody's flying around in under 3 hours. So I think that's bringing a smile to a lot of people's sort of faces as well. So yeah, I mean, it's quite an interesting thing to see, and you know, it might be something. All that's happened, it might change golf forever going forward. You know, so it'll be interesting to see what happens along that lines in the future.
Yeah, I was talking about that today. I can definitely see the leaving the flag in to become something quite normal. Obviously, the rules of golf changed, and now with what's happened with the COVID-19, I can see something like that sticking, and almost, I suppose, having professional rules for golf and amateur rules for golf in terms of leaving the flag in, no rakes, etc. So, how are people finding the golf course? What's the feedback like?
Feedback's been good. Speaking to quite a few people today, and obviously keen to find out information and you know what people are thinking of the golf course, and in particular the greens. Now, yeah, everybody's saying greens are a bit slow, but they're healthy. Yeah? So, and that's understandable. And it's with the restrictions that we have on us at the moment, and staff numbers, etc. Pace is not something that we're really pushing for at the moment. And once we start to get more staff back, that'll be something we'll be able to sort of concentrate our efforts a wee bit more. At the moment, it's just been trying to just get the golf course presented, get it set up in a safe manner for everybody to come out and enjoy themselves. And I think most people you speak to, they're just delighted to be out there. You know, they've been locked away for 9 or 10 weeks, and they're just delighted to be actually out swinging a club in such great weather that we've been having as well over the last sort of couple of weeks.
Yeah, true. So in terms of your staff numbers around the old course, what do you normally work with? How many staff do you normally have, and how many have you been limited to due to the restrictions?
And normally full-time staff, I've got about 14 full-time staff, including myself. When we were locked down, we decreased that amount down to 4 staff. And the remainder of the staff were furloughed off. So there's been 4 of us sort of working on the golf course throughout. This week brought another 2 guys back, so another 2 people come back this week to assist us, and then next week we're going to bring another 1 back as well. Main reason for that is really to be bringing guys back into a safe environment, working environment, rather than bringing everybody back at once. So and that's both for the people coming back and for the staff that are working. So we're just trying to sort of make sure everything's all safe and everything's good. Everybody feels comfortable about coming back as well. And that's the sort of important part that we're trying to sort of emphasise at the moment. And hopefully not too distant future that we'll be able to have all our staff back.
Yeah, because I assume people think, well, you work outside, what's the problem? But how many times do you have to jump into a gator and go somewhere? And there might be 2 of you that needs to be in the gator. All the little group things that you do, yeah. Working on a bunker together. Although you're outside, it's just the social distancing of when you have to go into all the machinery, I suppose. Something that people don't really think about. So you spoke about the weather. Now, the weather in England has been tropical. We have not had rain for knows how long. In fact, it's only started to rain the last couple of days, and I think golf courses struggled with that. How has the weather posed a positive and a negative effect for you guys trying to keep the course in a good condition during lockdown?
Yeah, well, from a positive point of view, because there's only been 4 of us working on the golf course since 23rd, 24th of March, the weather has been sort of dry. We had no rain probably for that first 7 or 8 weeks. So that has actually been a really positive thing, because that's taking the pressure off the 4 people that have been working, and there's not been the pressure of grass growing uncontrollably that we would have to sort of try and maintain that to a level. The negative effect of that is, it's been dry conditions. Normally, in a links course particularly, we don't really look for a dry spring. We would probably like, a few April showers kicking around, but there was none of that, just to sort of help to get everything moving on a gradual basis. But it is what it is, so we've had to really artificially just top things up with water, and just to try and keep things ticking over. But yeah, there's been some good points and some bad points about it, and I mean, the big positives, I suppose, now is the fact that people are now back playing golf, and they're coming back to a true links golf course as well. So that's, and they get bouncy fairways, and their balls are going further than they normally would. Greens might be a wee bit slower, but I think they're just enjoying, and that's why everybody comes to St Andrews Forest and try and play some true links golf, and I think they're getting that at the moment.
Yeah, and I suppose you've not had any divots, any pitch marks. You've not had any complaints from the hotel for people hitting into the car park. It's probably been quite nice in the last few weeks for you guys.
Well, certainly in terms of divots, because divots is usually our big sort of problem that we have, with the amount of play that we normally have. So we've not had any divots, and even now that we're down to 2 balls, and because we've got sort of really firm surfaces, and you're driving about the golf course at the moment, there's not a lot of divot damage on the course because the ground is so hard. So it's very difficult for somebody to take a sort of deep damaging sort of divot at the moment. So yeah, that's all been another sort of positive and helped us along the way. Now, if the weather had been, and it had poured with rain for 9 weeks or so, that had been very difficult to try and maintain the golf course. It had been very difficult for the staff as well, to try and keep the staff motivated in that condition. So it's been a bit of a win-win for us in a very difficult situation, that the weather has really helped us about. And it's the guys that have been working, it's put a smile on their face in the fact that you're going out and it's sunshine, and every day you're not having to worry about the rain going to start and putting waterproofs on. So there's a few positives to be taken out of a very sort of difficult situation that we've all had to sort of endure over the last couple of months.
Yeah, that's a really good point about taking cover, isn't it? Like, you don't need to, I suppose you didn't need to take your lunch inside. You didn't need to go inside. You could stay outside as long as possible. So that is a real big bonus about the weather during the time. So talk to me about the greens. Okay, this is what St Andrews is famous for, the huge greens. I mean, how many do you know your yardage of green at St Andrews? I mean, how hard was that to maintain? I think greens are probably the hardest thing to look after, aren't they? And especially when you've got limited green staff.
Yeah, I mean the greens are the unique thing about St Andrews and our double greens, our 7 double greens that we have. Our green areas, we've got around about 3 hectares of greens, which is 30,000 square metres. So large areas. So yeah, when you're down to 4 staff, we're having to prioritise exactly what we're doing. So yeah, we weren't cutting the greens every day. I think we were cutting the greens maybe twice a week. We weren't even, in certain days, if there was a dew line in the surface, we weren't removing the dew because we just didn't have the resources to do that. So now that we are back and we've got full golf, we're up and we are cutting greens every day, get a wee bit more staff, but we're just having to prioritise the work that we do. Normally we would quite like to sort of walk more greens. There's not a chance that we can do that with the staff, so everything's just been sort of triple mode. And as I said earlier, I think most golfers are they'll be looking for a good pace in the greens. That's been something that we've not been able to sort of concentrate on too much. But now we're just getting to that stage that hopefully in the next sort of week, 10 days, we can start to sort of maybe push and give the golfers the conditions that they're after. But in saying that, everybody I've spoken to have been very, very understanding of the situation. They know what we've had to deal with. And we just try to explain, look, that will come. We will work in that as soon as we get a given chance to do that. But it's all good at the moment. It's been a very interesting time, and a lot of learning points as well. I think that all greenkeepers will have learned, and all clubs will have learned over the last few months.
Yeah, well, it's quite nice to hear that St Andrews Old Course greens might not be where they need to be. So when members are moaning about the speed of the greens at their local club, people can just say, well, St Andrews isn't there yet. It's important for people to know how much time and preparation it takes to get a green up to standard. So you said about learning. I suppose, have you been, at this moment in time, learning from a greenkeeper's point of view? Is that how you prioritise, how you schedule your day? I suppose everything's had to be more like that just because you've had less staff.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, one of the big things and points that we've been looking at, and we're going to have to look at in the future, is our expectation of how a golf course should be presented. Along with that this will be a message that we'll probably need to go out to golf as well, and clubs as the golfer expectations. And whether this is an opportunity that that we maybe have to look in how we manage golf courses now in a more sustainable way, which we've been trying to do, but everybody likes fast greens, etc. But at the moment we're not able to produce that fast greens, but we're still producing a good surface that for people to play, that's smooth and that's true. But yeah, I think there's a lot of things that I think that we have to look at as greenkeepers and say, right, well, we have to lower our expectations in how we present that golf course. And yeah, things might be not quite as pristine as what we would normally like, but we'll get to jobs at certain times. A couple of things are we've got 110 bunkers, and that's been near impossible to try and have a level of maintenance on a daily basis on these bunkers. And even this week, with 6 staff back, we've not been able to sort of rake the bunkers this week. But nobody's really complaining about that. And that might be something that going forward that we might have to look and say, right, we'll maybe have to go back and say, right, the bunkers are only raked maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And albeit it's a hazard and all that. So there may be wee things like that might have to change, and we have to prioritise work in a different way from what we've been used to in the last few years.
Almost sounds like you're talking about stepping back in time, 2 balls, carrying the own bag, not raking bunkers, all this type of, like, taking golf back to what it used to be, like way back when. So just quickly on this facility-wise, have you got the driving range open, or is the putting green open, or anything like that at the moment? Or is it just golf?
At the moment, in essence, it's just golf. Our driving range is not open at the moment. That will probably come in the next sort of week to 10 days. Putting greens, yes, we have got 1 putting green open, just got 2 holes in that putting green, because what we're trying to do is just manage each 2 balls. There's only 2 people on the putting green at a time. So that's been managed at the first tee, just to make sure. So yeah, I mean, all these things will come as we get word from the government and we move into the various phases that it's safe. For example, when we move from 2 ball to 3 ball or 4 ball, and that's maybe a trigger that we can start to sort of open more facilities, give people more practice areas, etc. to use.
Yeah, that's when the complaints of slow play will come, Gordon, just to warn you. So looking at your yearly plan really for St Andrews Old Course, you normally have some big amateur events, which aren't on this year, but you do have the Dunhill, that's still in place. So has this 10 weeks hindered your progress for the Dunhill, or was it, as it's in October, is it manageable?
Oh, I mean, it's manageable because if that happens in October, we've got plenty of time to really get things to where they should be. Yeah, you've mentioned there's a lot of our amateur events have gone, and in fact, this weekend would have been the Lynx Trophy, which should have been a sort of big amateur thing. Last weekend would have been the ladies' equivalent, the St. Real Trophy. They've all gone. So yeah, I mean, the Dunhill is probably, we're hoping that in some form that might happen. Not sure what sort of format that might happen, whether crowds will be allowed back at that particular stage. But in terms of the golf course, yeah, the golf course will be ready. As I said, like the only thing we really need to sort of tend to work on is really the speed of the greens, you know, and that's not because we're not cutting the greens low enough. We just need to be doing a lot more specific work and maybe a bit of rolling. We've not been rolling greens or anything like that. But I mean, the golf course is ready. Just this afternoon, just being out there and looking at it. Just I said to my deputy, I says, we can't have any complaints. I mean, the golf course is just at the moment is looking mint. It's as best I've seen it at any time of the year, you know. And the only sort of criticism or small sort of thing that I would say is the fact that the green speeds are not quite where I would like them, where the golfers would like them, but they're good. Like they're good surfaces, you know. And if the greens are only running at 9 foot, then yeah, and so be it. There's nothing bad in that, in my eyes.
Yeah, and then the Open as well. So the Open's been put back an entire year. So does that mean that you can maybe put a few more things in place? I mean, what type of changes have you made to the course since the last Open? Any tee changes? Any bunkers been put into play?
No, not a lot of changes. Anything that we've done in the last sort of couple of winters has all been around about spectator enhancements. And the old course is probably not the greatest venue for spectating. So we've done 2 or 3 sort of spectator enhancements, i.e. basically that has just been sort of building some mounding so for people to get views in and around tees. And that is really the only thing we've done. There's nothing on the golf course that's changed. There's no bunkers went in, no bunkers came out, no alterations to any greens. It's just all been about just the spectator enhancement and giving them a better view of the golf course without having to climb into a stand. And I mean, the golf course will be ready. You know, we were obviously looking forward to next year, the 150th Open. Obviously, that's going to move on now a year. So that just gives us another year to really sort of put the planning in place. And probably more so that it now allows the disappointed people who are due to be coming to St Andrews this summer and now will get that opportunity to come next year and fulfil their dream. And and again, that just allows us another year to sort of plan and make sure that the 150th Open Championship at St Andrews in 2022 will be one of the best Opens that has been played.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So people that book this year can come next year without the Open interrupting. So in terms of the Open, when do you shut the golf course to people? How long do you have, and how many weeks before the Open starts does the old course shut?
Yeah, normally what happens is the golf course will shut towards the end of June. So it's about a 3-week closure, complete closure of the golf course. And then you have the week of the Open, so I mean, we've always done that, just close the course for 3 weeks just to allow it to rest. And that's been one of the key things that we've seen, although we've been shut down or forced shut down for 10 weeks. The rest that the golf course has received has been so beneficial. And I think that's been one of the things and how the golf course is looking so well that it's been sort of completely rested. But yeah, I mean, we'll close for 3 weeks prior to it, and that's ample time just to allow a bit of divot recovery, just to make sure that everything's in pristine condition for the playing of the Open Championship.
And in terms of course setup, what's the difference when you're setting it up for the pros compared to amateurs, the everyday rounds of golf at St Andrews?
There's not a lot of difference. I'll give you an example. I mean, with the Rico Women's Opens, with the Dunhill, we generally go from everyday play straight into the tournament. And people say, well, what do you do differently this week from what you've done last week? And it says the only difference that happens in a tournament week is we have more staff to help us to set the golf course up, because we've got less time to set the golf course up. But what happens on the golf course this week is essentially what will happen in the week of the Open Championship. There is not a lot of difference. And that's one of the things we're tournament ready, and the philosophy that I have is that the golf course will be set up every single day in tournament condition, because when people come and play St Andrews, they're coming to play it in the back of watching the Open Championship, watching the Dunhill, watching the Women's Open on TV, and that's what attracts them to come and play. I want to go and play that golf course, and it's a public golf course. It's open to anybody. Anybody can come and put their name in the hat and get a game of golf. So, the philosophy is that we try and keep it and maintain it in tournament condition all year round, if absolutely possible.
I've always wondered about the bridge on 18. So it's used a lot, and everyone has their photos taken on it. I mean, social distancing at the moment, that can't be easy to try and get a photo on there. But do you have to maintain it? It must get quite worn down. It's a very old bridge.
It's a very, very old bridge. Yeah, we do have to sort of maintain it, but there's a lot of restrictions on how we maintain it. And, we have to go through a lot of different bodies to get permission, because there's a certain type of materials that you have to use, but you do have to maintain it. But it's generally just a bit of pointing, to try and keep it sort of basically in decent condition and safe as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a very heavily used bridge, and I've had a penny for every time I was asked to take somebody's photograph on that bridge. I'd probably be a very rich man.
No, exactly. So what's your favourite hole around the old course?
Favourite hole, I mean, obviously everybody would sort of go for 17. 17 is obviously the classic sort of risk and reward hole. Very difficult question. My favourite holes are in the back nine. The front nine doesn't blow me away, but I think the back nine sort of blows me away, because every shot that you're hitting, you're coming back into the town with all the steeples. So if I was to pick a favourite hole, I'd probably say 15. 15 is one of my favourite holes, just because just from the tee shot coming in and the strategy that you've got to play, how you've got to play the hole, and again, it looks a simple hole, but it's not a simple hole. So 15 would probably be one of my sort of favourites, behind sort of probably everybody's sort of 17, but generally because of that views that you're getting coming down the back nine, coming back into the town. And
as the course manager, do you prefer the scores that are shot at the Dunhill, or do you like the scores that are set at the Open, in terms of they go pretty low at Dunhill, don't they?
Yeah, they go. I mean, they go pretty low at Dunhill, but again, the time of the year. I mean, it's at autumn time, so yeah, things can be just a wee bit softer, so a wee bit more receptive, and they can attack things a bit better. Whereas, generally in July, you would like to think that you're going to have sort of true links conditions, hard conditions, but it'll be a bit more sort of tougher for the elite players to score well around the golf course. So it is what it is, and you could get into the conversations about technology, and it's one of these things. You get a really old golf course there that has been extended over the years, but I think that the club technology now is so good for the top players that you can't get too worried if somebody goes out and shoots 60 for 59 round your golf courses, as long as we've set it up to the best of our ability for the conditions that we have in any given day.
What was your favourite Open that you worked on?
So the two Opens that I've worked sort of previously, or been in charge of previously, is well, both had bad weather, so they didn't hold a lot of good memories for me. Probably my first Open at St Andrews in 2000. I worked just as part of the crew in 2000, and you know that was obviously Tiger Woods' sort of first Open Championship. It was an absolute test of just sheer brilliant links golf because it was so dry and such a dry and hot summer, that the golf course just played, you know, the way that we would all love for it to play, you know, and probably since then we've never really been lucky enough to have a sort of true open test that we really would love to see at St Andrews, you know, and the weather has impacted quite a lot in you know a lot of the tournaments that we've had. So yeah, but 2000 is probably the one that sticks out in my mind as being, you know, the first one that I was involved in, and then with Tiger Woods sort of basically sort of, you know, at the start of his career there.
Didn't hit in a bunker, did he? Missed every single bunker for 4 days, which is very impressive around that place. Right, let's finish off with. Have you got a really like a nice little story about when you've been working at these Opens? Is there anything from any of the players that you remember?
Probably a couple of things that sort of stick out. Obviously, my first tournament, professional tournament, was a 2007 Rico Women's Open, and you know I was up on the 18th green just in one of the practice rounds, and you know just being discreet and just hanging around the perimeter. But Annika Sorensen was there, and she actually came across and said, "Are you the superintendent?" And I said, "Yeah," and she was very complimentary about the golf course. So that was a nice story. That was a nice sort of moment for us. And then probably the other one was the last Open, Tom Watson's last Open, when he was there. So he practice round again. And I was down round about the 17th fairway, and he played his driver off the tee, and his ball had run out, and he wanted to go back and hit another club, and I was there, and I jumped over and I says, "Look, I'll give you a lift back to the tee. You want to lift back to the tee?" So drove him back to the 17th tee. He played his shot, he jumped on the buggy and drove him back down. So I had sort of 2 or 3 minutes with, you know, sort of Tom Watson, just sort of chatting about various things. And again, he was obviously very, very complimentary. And it's when you speak to people like that, and it's how high regard that the top players hold St Andrews, you know, and it's like a bucket list to them. And I've spoken to a lot of pros over the years, and they always say that, you know, that when they arrive in St Andrews, they're like everybody else. It's just a dream, and they get the nerves on the first tee, like everybody else, because it is just held in such high regard to them as well, you know. So and they just sort of come on and play it. I mean, even at the Dunhill, a lot of the guys that come and play the Dunhill, they come and play they'll play their 3 practice rounds on the old course rather than going and playing Carnoustie and Kings Barnes, because we'll never get the chance to do this again. So, but they're probably a couple of the stories that probably stand out for me, you know.
Yeah, I can tell you from as being a professional, you get giddy going into St Andrews, the town, and then when you walk onto that first tee, it's history. And even though we're professional golfers, we still love golf. It's our passion. So thanks very much for your time, Gordon. I've got to say, I've never been more jealous of a greenkeeper than you right now, getting to work on that fabulous piece of land. But yeah, thank you for your time, and thank you for explaining some of the difficulties that can be had for coming back from lockdown for 10 weeks. Thanks very much, Gordon. Cheers.
Okay, thank you. No problem.
I could listen to Gordon all day long. He's got some great stories. Thank you all for watching this video. If you've liked it, please click the like button below and the subscribe button, and I'll see you again soon.